Good morning. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Well, I hope. Okay, so what have we got then? We've got a few things on my watch list today. Not that many, mostly pip snatchers from memory, but a few things worth talking about, so we will get stuck in. Right, we'll start on the daily chart, of course. So on the daily, we have Aussie Swiss breaking down. Swiss had some news yesterday, which is obviously good as far as the market is concerned, because Swiss has shown strength today, or since the news. And a very bearish day yesterday, breaking down from the daily 2050 zone. Up here, coming back towards it, now it's breaking down below this level here, which seemed quite significant. There's lots of touches or near touches around this level. But so straight through that yesterday, looking like we're going to keep going short today. So look at the hourly chart. And here we have nice breakdown. Never pulled back to give us an entry. Never pulled back to the 1 hour 50. So putting back to the 1 hour 50 now is, yeah, it's too late really for me. Then the best to do is just wait for. Let's have a quick look. Does it actually line up with the fibs? Probably not. It's gone way too far. No, it does kind of. Maybe if you line up for an IBO. But I think the simplest thing here is just a pip snatcher. Take it a quick 1-to-1. There's a daily pivot here, but the 1 hour 50 is quite a long way behind. So maybe this, maybe the IBO is a better option actually. Thinking about it, if it does pull all the way back, in here, that'll give that time to catch up. That pulls back. It could be an option, but then we've got to put our stop right back here. It's not a CBO because the 4 hour 50 is too far behind. So it'll be an IBO. And the 4 hour 50 will be within our stop loss. So that's good. Protection there. And then where do we take it? Down to here, 1.37%. Not great. Okay, but not great. And we go further. Let's go to the daily chart and get an idea for, well, we've got kind of, not so clear skies, that's going up. The opposite of clear skies. Down below, down to these lows. So we've got a fair bit of room to go down. That'd be a conservative target, or you could just push it further if you wanted to, down to lows. So that's kind of okay, but I think it's got too far to pull back to actually line up. Aussie Kiwi. Aussie Kiwi, we've had this bounce off this support level here, which seems reasonable, but not spectacular. Doesn't matter. It's gone up to a daily 50. Nice high test yesterday, indicating that we are going to go short today. Let's look at that hourly chart. Now looking at this, so much stuff going on here. What's that doing there? That must be from yesterday. Okay, so here we can see an ACB that formed yesterday. Not very clear, but definitely some kind of deceleration. Right, there's a wedge there. So we've come up to the 4 hour 50, rejected it, which is actually where the daily 50 is as well, this green line. Might just be able to see that. And it's rejected it and it's bounced off. Now it hasn't really, in the last hour or two, it's not really giving us a nice candle, is it? A nice setup for it actually be an ACBB because it's an IBO with the 4 hour 50 behind us, and I keep mentioning. Hoping for a nice break and retest, but it's kind of broken and weak. It's not really a clear break. I'm not quite sure how that was going to play out. I wouldn't want to enter now because it's not a clear break and a pullback. It really needs to be, maybe we get something in the next few hours to see how that goes. But yeah, so see if that one sets up. It's not looking so good now. Let's look at Swiss here. I'll just close this down so not make things faster. Okay. So as I said, we've got Swiss strength yesterday. We're now breaking up above this resistance level, which is pretty strong. Looking back with lots and lots of rejections of it. Just breaking up through that. Hopefully that will continue with strength today. It's not updating. Here we go. Okay, so here's the obvious thing is just a quick pitch snatcher. There's no ACV. It's been trundling along the 4-hour 50 for too long, going sideways. They've got a clear break up, like to come down and meet the 1-hour 50, which lines up, which will probably line up well with the pivot if it does that in the next few hours. Swiss yen, any time of day, but the next 4 hours maybe it comes down here. That could be a beautiful retest. Nice quick one-to-one pitch snatcher. Could you push it to a hyper trade? Well, it's an uptrend. Does it get exhausted? Let's have a look at our MACD. MACD, it's kind of okay. Kind of okay. Is it overbought yet? Not really. It's moving up towards overbought, but it's not. So that could be a possible hyper trade. You could there's nothing, no obvious profit target before that, apart from obviously R1. You're trading right through that up to here somewhere and just manage it accordingly. And you could even get 2 or 3% out of that one if you want to take on a hyper trade. You're Aussie. You're Aussie. We had, so this trend line has been here for a while, rejected again recently, and now it's gone up and it's broken through it. So that looks pretty good for that upward momentum to continue. Now on the hourly chart, I copied the trend line across and I've extended it. So it's going to cause a bit of, it's going to have to break through it, at least quickly, before, to give us an entry for a pitch snatcher. I think pitch snatcher is the way to go. It's an obvious trade here. It looks pretty good. The 1-hour 50 is not too far behind. That might catch up here, not too far behind the pivot, wick through, hit the 1-hour 50, and then give us an entry and trade that long. So remember, you are trading through this trend line, which has been respected recently, but broken here last night. And yeah, so that could be a possible one, which looks okay for Euro Aussie. So Euro Kiwi look like. Euro Kiwi, again, we've got a rejection of the day 2050 or the day 20 and day 2050 zone. I've rejected that, bounced up, looking very strong after yesterday's price action. And again, the pitch snatcher seems to be the obvious trade here. 1-hour 50 is looking pretty close, which is good. The ABC correction down here somewhere. Could be a nice quick one-to-one pitch snatcher long. Could you push it for a hyper trade? You probably could, but looking at the strength of this uptrend in general, it's not that great. It's not likely to suddenly rocket off to the upside these highs. It may do, but it's not looking particularly strong. So probably one-to-one is the way to go for that one. Got pitch snatcher. Pound Aussie. Pound Aussie, similar kind of thing, but this is a pretty strong level, which we looked at for the last few days, which was rejected and going bullish for the last couple of days, which is nice. Hopefully that'll continue long today. Let's give it the 1-hour chart. And again, the pitch snatcher is the obvious choice here. After a nice ACB, which gave it, and it never really pulled back from an ACBB entry, but there's definitely some momentum there. MACD still looks strong. It's pulled back slightly down below this low, which means that when it does pull back, there's plenty of momentum to take it higher. That could be a quick one-to-one pitch snatcher. That looks pretty good as well. 1-hour 50 is not too far behind. That looks pretty good. Pound Kiwi. Very similar, just somewhere bouncing off the daily 50. Broken upwards, heading towards this resistance level. That looks okay. What have we got on our 1-hour chart? Similar to analyse. got a break up above the 4-hour 50 and the 1-hour 50. Hasn't really come back to retest the 1-hour 50, so we could even have a CBO here with the 4-hour 50 right behind the 1-hour 50. That pulls back in the next 2 or 3 hours. The fib lines up pretty well with the 1-hour 50. That's a wick through the 1-hour 50 very slightly, and it will probably pull back to the 4-hour 50 just to test it, and then hopefully it will reject that, and I'd enter then after it's rejected the 4-hour 50. So we've got proof that it's going to bounce back and have some positive momentum, and then you can trade that up to highs. There's a good 3+% on offer there. So that could be a nice looking CBO. A bit different. That's good. Kiwi Swiss. Kiwi Swiss, we're breaking down from the daily 50 and heading down towards these lows. A bit more room before we hit these lows. Not much. But a very bearish day yesterday. That's after the Swiss news. So we look. Well, not just after the Swiss news. Yeah, maybe it's happened back here. Yes, that was the news event, and then since then it's been going down pretty strongly. So we need to pull back. The obvious thing here is a pip snatcher, but the 1-hour 50 is quite a long way behind because this move was pretty fast. So if it hangs around here for another 8-10 hours, maybe that'll be an entry later on today. MACD still looks okay. We've still got positive momentum, but really we don't want it putting back too slowly because then we lose some momentum, and then MACD will indicate that we're not going to continue going short. So it's worth watching, but I think the 1-hour 50 is just too far behind. We'll see. Euro Swiss, another Swiss bear. So we've had a breakdown of Euro Swiss down to this support level, which is also pretty much where the daily 50 is and the daily 20. So expecting a bounce, nice deceleration, but nothing's setting up right now because we need a bit more proof that there's a change in trend. We have a high low, which is good. When we get up here for setup, breaking the 1-hour 50, we'll get a higher high, and then we'll either have an IBO or a CBO, depending if that 4-hour 50 starts curling up as well. That might happen later today, which is why I'm bringing it to your attention. Nothing happening right now. It's got another 3, 4, 5 hours of breaking through the 1-hour 50. Then we've got to go up to a high, reject it, come down, got a high, roll back to test our 1-hour 50. And with the 4-hour 50 not too far behind us, that could be a pretty good CBO. If it's a CBO, of course, we need a gap on the 4-hour chart. So the break and retest of the 4-hour, which means there's going to be quite a few candles to go yet on the 1-hour. And it could be very late today or maybe even tomorrow. Worth keeping an eye on. Okay, there you go. That's what I think. There's a few things on there, quite a few pip snatches, a CBO, and yeah, I wish you all the best. Hopefully it'll set nicely for us. You'll get one of those. Of course, this week is NFT week, so be wary of the news, especially late in the day. It doesn't really affect me so much, but you've got to be careful with open trades through NFP news. There's quite a lot of news this week. Aussie dollar today, US dollar Wednesday, CAD on Wednesday, which is also going to be interest rates related. US dollar, big news on Thursday, and of course the big NFP on Friday, and possibly some yen news on Friday as well. So keep an eye on the news, trade carefully. I wish you all the best. I will speak to you tomorrow. Take care.